Can you talk about, because you did mention soul food canon, so I'm curious, like, what are some of those foods that maybe, to I guess even mac and cheese being one of them, that weren't originally part of the soul food but have kind of been later adopted, or just what are some key soul food canon you'd say?
Yeah, so for my book on my first book on the history of soul food, what I did is I created a representative soul food meal and I wrote a chapter about every part of the meal. So this is the meal that I put together. Entrees would be fried chicken, catfish or some kind of fish, right? Usually fried, chitlins, and then greens, black-eyed peas, mac and cheese, candy jams, some type of cornbread, some type of red drink, because in soul food culture, red is a color and a flavor. So black people, we don't call things cherry or strawberry that it has hints of cranberries. Although I noticed a lot of youngins are drinking like purple and blue. And as I wrote in my book, I do believe the children are our future, that we should teach them well and let them lead the way, but not on Kool-Aid because they're messing it up. And then for dessert, and a bottle of hot sauce, that's the condiment of choice. And then for dessert, it's usually going to be some kind of peach cobbler, banana pudding, pound cake, or sweet potato pie. I think are the absolute favorite. So one of the things that's fun is as I go around the country talking about soul food, people will argue with me about what I left out of that meal,
Mm.
which is kind of fun. But I was just putting together a meal. If you were to go to somebody's house or go to a restaurant anywhere in the world that features soul food, what are you most likely to have? And I settled on those things.
That's very cool. And speaking of that, because I want to talk about some of those items you're talking about, specifically collard greens, because I think that's another one that is highly debated about how you prep them and what's the proper way. So, based on just your research and kind of how you've lived in some of the places you've been, can you talk a little bit about how should greens be properly prepared to cook, or just the different ways that they have been prepared throughout the diaspora?
Yeah, so it's important to understand that greens are really central to West African cuisine. So our enslaved ancestors came with a love of eating the leaves of plants. Unfortunately, here in the Americas, they couldn't get the same things they had in West Africa because you're transitioning from a tropical climate to either a temperate climate or a subtropical climate. So they had to substitute other greens, and so that's where the greens of Europe come into play. Collards being one of them.
Yeah.
And so, um, from what I can tell, the typical traditional way of making greens is to stew them or braise them if you're going to be more precise about it. But you just get you create a stock of water, a seasoned stock, usually with some kind of meat. For a long time, it's been pork, but lately I've been using smoked turkey.
Mm.
And I put onion, garlic, and red pepper and create a seasoned stock. And then I cut up wash the leaves, cut them up, and then put them in or tear them and put them in that stock. And then if you're cooking collards, you want to cook them for a long time. So at least 45 minutes to an hour. But if you're doing something like turnip greens or mustard greens, those are tender or more tender. And so you can cook those for like 30 minutes, 45 minutes. I think one of the misconceptions out there about greens is that you just cook them to death
Mm.
and you don't need to cook them that long. You just want them to get tender. And you want to make sure that you have the broth with it, which people call liquor, pot liquor. It has nothing to do with getting your drink on. That's an old British term for the stock that's created when you're cooking meat and vegetables in water.
No, as well. I see. That's good. I didn't even think about it like that because a lot of times I do the greens with the turkey, so I'm used to that now. Obviously, pork is the number one that a lot of people have as well. If you enjoyed that clip, make sure you head over to www.bookupapp.com to download our app so you can connect with your favorite bookish content creators, start conversations, and start your own book club.